welcome to negative camber.
No!
If it's motorsport you want, then this is the place to be. All of the latest results, analysis and interviews.
And a great start for car number 11. D'Alberto's got away beautifully at the start of the great race. Down the inside, Hamilton sees it coming. It's a late launch by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
And now it's time to introduce your hosts, Jamie Lemure and Leigh Harrison.
Formula One, July 2nd, Red Bull Ring, and I'll run through the top 10. So Max Verstappen first, rinse repeat there. Charles Leclerc second, Sergio Perez third, Lando Norris fourth, Alonso fifth, Carlos Sainz sixth, George Russell seventh, Lewis Hamilton eighth, Lance Stroll ninth, and Pierre Gasly rounding out the top 10. Heaps of talking points. We'll start with the qualifying sprint race. Not even a qualifying race anymore. But amazing what happens to Max when someone actually gets their act together momentarily and actually challenges him, and the old Max of 2021 returns. And I wished and I hoped that he skittled him, Perez, Lando Norris, and 3/4 of the other drivers that he wanted to try and do at turn 2, because then I really would have wanted to have seen just Christian Horner's reaction after the fact.
He was up there though. Like, he made the corner. Perez needed to yield.
He's a lucky boy.
He needed to yield.
Yeah, well,
he had the corner. He was alongside of him, and Perez tried to race him around the outside. That's what happens when you race people around the outside.
I'm not saying
outside suicide.
Yeah, I'm not saying Perez was good. I'm not saying Perez was smart.
Max did nothing wrong.
No, he was lucky.
If Perez did what Perez needed to do, Max did nothing wrong. He made the corner. He didn't push Perez off the track. Perez chose to drive off the track and then try and have a whinge, like that was ever going to do anything. But yeah, Max did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I would like to have seen. For me, that's the thing. Perez, I think, in that moment, probably realised what had happened going down the main straight, where he gave Max no space, and Max was compelled to go onto the grass rather than lift off the throttle, and that was brave in itself, because that could have gone the other way.
Yep.
And I think he went. My guess is that he's gone out wide and given Max the space, and probably not expected Max to go in as hard as what he did, as a token gesture to say, okay, yeah, look, I've overstepped the mark. And I think he literally packed his DAX.
Yeah.
But the context of why will probably come up a little bit later when we talk about what happened after Silverstone, because I can guarantee you this, right? He and Mr. DeVries and Daniel Ricciardo were put on notice, and I know this for a fact, from round 4 this year.
Where did your fact come from?
Multiple sources.
What sources?
Multiple sources. I will tell you. Autosport, ESPN, F1, there's motorsport.com, multiple. Right. So it's been brewing for a while, and it coincided straight after Miami.
Yep.
That's when it started, right? And it started halfway through that race, right, when Sergio Perez engineer didn't give him any feedback or data for the last 25 laps when Max was on his charge.
Yep.
From that point on, Perez has not been the same driver.
No, and like once he got beaten by Max in that way, with Max coming from behind, it has done him in
big time.
Yeah, but
big time.
But then you've got to drive smarter than that, and you know what Max is like. I mean, you know Max is going to send it. You know Max wants to be at the front, so you let him outbrake himself and drive himself off the track, and then you over under him. So like Perez needs to be smarter. Yeah.
Oh look, absolutely, and there's no doubt about it. He's also the pressure. It's funny because I'm reading a book at the moment about karting and driver development, and because it's that chapter of it. And it's funny how the perception is the modern driver, in terms of their ego and how they're stroked when they're a kid, when it comes to high pressure situations, unlike say some of the stooges in the past, these guys buckle.
Yeah.
Right. And Perez is a shining example of that right now.
But I guess like as well, like maybe it's how do you say it nicely and not too bluntly? Maybe it's the fact that that's where money comes into play, right? So you look at Perez every time where he's I'll go a little bit deeper. Perez never won nothing in karts, right? He was never a world champion. far as I know, he's not a European champion. Or anything like that, like raced at the highest level. He's there because of Mexican money, right? So the pressure hasn't been on him the whole time growing up, racing at the front of the World Championships, racing at the front of the European Championships, racing at the front of the Junior Formula A. And he's shown before. He came in at Sauber, there was no pressure on him. He did well. He gets promoted to McLaren. He chokes. He's done well when he went back with Force India. He's, made the most. He's been there enough to capitalise when nobody else wanted to win a race or be on the podium. And that's basically the story of Perez's career. He's there or thereabouts to capitalise when someone doesn't do a good job. Unfortunately, he's against a teammate that does a good job every single weekend.
Yeah.
This is where maybe back in the day we had more sponsorship money from cigarettes, from tobacco, from liquor, from all sorts of different things, where it was rare that someone came into the sport that had a huge amount of money behind them, and that was the reason they got there. We're seeing more and more and more and more of that, where the talent is weeded out because of the money that's in the sport.
In some cases, yes. In other cases, there were, and it was mainly for the backmarker teams in the early 90s to mid-90s, where you'd have fields of 32 cars and then you had pre-qualifying to get into qualifying.
Yeah.
The amount of paid drivers back then.
Yeah.
But in terms of...
But they were all gone by Saturday afternoon, you know? They're not making the field every single weekend.
No.
Like, I'm all for it. You want to bring in 20 more teams and have them as paid drivers, no worries. But there's no reason why the Formula 2 champion for this year should not be in a Formula... Especially when they can't do the Formula 2 championship again next year. There is no reason that the Formula 2 champion from this year should not be in a Formula 1 race seat next year. Like, there's no reason for it. Yeah.
The only way to solve that problem is more teams.
Exactly.
But for the F1 don't want to have more teams because the teams are against it.
Oh, but why? Because then they dilute the prize pool. But with the more teams coming in, then there's more sponsors, then there's more show, there's more money. They'll dilute it for the first year or two, and then there'll be a bigger prize pool to go around after that. So anyway, and they all get paid a historic fund anyway. So like if a new team comes in, they have to pay some stupid amount of money, $2 billion or whatever, so that Red Bull can have their cut, Mercedes can have their cut, Ferrari can have their cut. Like, I don't know. It's just mind-boggling.
Greed imprisons us all. Yeah. That's all I can say. Track limits. How much is enough? 1,200 cases over the weekend of track. 1,200, Leigh. Like, I can't swear on the radio, but you know what I mean.
Look, just let them have it. Like, if they've... Just let them have at it, really. Like, just say, look, for these 1-2 corners in particular, we're going to monitor track limits. Otherwise, go for gold. Yep. Same as they do with Indy cars at Texas, same as they do as NASCAR at Watkins Glen in Texas. Just let them have it. If it's there because it's safer, just let them have it.
Well, I mean, I saw some video footage of 2003, and it was a qualifying session. So groove tyres, Schumacher at his element, and they've come flying through corner 1 at Austria. They've intentionally gone over the ripple strip on the left. They've hit an access road as part of the racing line, and just before they hit the grass, they're back onto the actual bitumen. No track limits there. No. Right, and these guys throttle off, turn in, and they're actually intentionally missing the apex on the inner inner right hand corner to actually use that as a momentum, or almost like a ramp, because it's downhill.
Yep.
No track limits issue there. Did it spoil the spectacle of the racing?
Definitely not.
No. You know, so I understand, but at the same token, you know, like in motorsport or of any nature, you give someone X amount, they'll want to have X plus 1 and X plus 2, and they'll keep pushing them before it starts to become a joke. So I get that, you know, but the last corner and the first corner of Austria, they're so...
No, I think the first corner, there's that exit curb there. I think that's fair enough, because if you're running over the top of that to avoid it, then that's basically cheating. You're exploiting the track there. Whereas if you're doing it through that fast double right-hander coming back onto the front straight, then I think that's probably that little straight in between those two double right-handers. I think that's the only place at Austria where they can go, you know what, boys? That corner's yours. Do what you want with it. Rubber up a race line wherever you want it. It's for the best. But everywhere else, if you go 4 wheels over the white line, you're done for.
Yeah. You know what else they could probably do is actually change the profile of that corner. And you know how, and Norris was probably one of the only ones, was actually riding the inside right-hand curve between the first and that second double apex. So just make that as a bit of an arc, and it's kind of like a mini version of Barcelona, you know, because then all of a sudden they'll have that much momentum because they'll hug the inside, and it gives them that little bit of extra space on the exit.
Yeah, but they don't ride the exit at Barcelona because there's a gravel trap there.
Yeah.
So, like, they've either got to put the gravel trap back in, but then the motorbikes won't like it, or they just say have at it. And I just think that's easier. Just say have at it for that last corner, but everywhere else 4 wheels over and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. Because there were drivers there that would have made it probably a bit of a more interesting race, but they had their qualifying times compromised because of the track limit. So there's that F1 are so pro showcase in some parts, but then forget the essentials on the other side of it too, for the purists. Yeah. You know, find that balance. Ferrari showed some encouraging signs with the upgraded car, so front wing and floor was actually done, and they've, outside of Silverstone, been up on the up since Canada.
You are very much an optimist.
In pace. Didn't say results.
Very much
Didn't say results.
Very much an optimist. I still think you are third, if not fourth best car at the moment.
Oh, look. Put the queue in the rack and start again next year.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They're not going to win the title. Max only has to finish second in every single Grand Prix to win it. And everyone else outside of Max are tripping over themselves as to, you know, to try and get second place.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mercedes are talking about they can still continue to look to develop. Just put the queue in the rack. Use this year as a testing year. Try again next year.
Yeah.
The title's done. You know,
there's still a lot of money for second place. There's still a lot of money in the Constructors' Championship for second place. So, and every point you score, you get money. So, there's still some value to winning points this year. But yeah, you want to start shifting your focus pretty soon. Even if you like, just to close the gap.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you look at it on face evidence right now, Newey will be Newey. He's got such a good car, they only have to somehow tweak it and make it better next year. Yeah. Whereas the other teams have to do something wholesale.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more of a rinse and repeat next year.
The problem for everyone else is, like, Newey's bored. So he's there with his notebook on every grid, ready to write notes about what Ferrari have changed and how it's working and what did they find. And then he's going back home and doing it in his simulator. And
he still uses a pencil and paper.
Yeah.
What about the simulator?
He does the pencil and paper drawings, then puts them into the simulator. But unfortunately, like we've said a million times on this show, ground effects and Newey go hand in hand. So everyone's got some work to do.
Yeah. This is where the cost cap era, whilst it's been great in many aspects, has come back to haunt the teams that have the budget to spend to close that gap. Yeah. You know, that's the problem. That's where...
I said with Williams a couple of weeks ago that they're 20 years behind. They can spend the money. The money's there. They can spend it, but they'll go over the cost cap. So, and like, is it worth it for them? Like, you know, they're going to have they're not winning championships, so do they just go stuff it? We'll just spend all the money to upgrade our premises, and then we'll be on the cup cap. Over the cost cap, what's going to happen to us?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We'll look at Aston Martin, but they've got the budget to do it.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's the scary part. I can't imagine the amount of money Lawrence Stroll has splashed into that. That's just insane.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen exceeded Ayrton Senna. Oh, man. Damn. On 41 wins. He's now probably, 43? Yeah. So, and he'll probably catch Prost by the end of the year on 51 at this rate of where he's going. So we'll need to come... All right, Silverstone, which is part of the next part of the Grand Prix that was held last weekend. Our Grand Prix coverage, quite extensive. Just getting my hearing back. I'm just still hearing this.
That's the sound of Mark Aston's voice that'll do it to you.
God, my ears are little, Leigh. Haven't you seen them? Just nothing much of them. God. Anyway, Silverstone. Max Verstappen again, Lando Norris second, Lewis Hamilton third, Oscar Piastri fourth. Now that was a good drive. George Russell fifth, Sergio Perez sixth, Fernando Alonso seventh, Alex Albon eighth, Charles Leclerc ninth, and Carlos Sainz in 10th place. So, we are going to do some talking points about Silverstone, and the reality is this: behind Max and Red Bull, The rest of the field is actually really super tight and competitive, and it's really hard to find actually guess who's actually going to be winning week in, week out. Well, sorry, who's going to be really sort of finishing from second onwards, week in, week out. So it's, you know what? You can say that the regulations have actually hit the nail on the head in many aspects, because some of the racing, especially after the safety car, for that second half of the race, and the teams are on a different strategy for tyres, was actually very, very good. Now, the key to what we're going to cover a little bit later, which is the whole Daniel Ricciardo, Nyck De Vries thing, the key to remember is this, that the teams had 2024 spec tyres for that race meet. They were fast-tracked because of the fact that there was concerns about the tyre degradation because of, you know, the Silverstone hairpin, especially hanger curve and all that sort of stuff, and the high speed and the grip and the downforce that the cars actually produce as well. So when obviously we get to the Daniel Ricciardo piece and he goes out and sets times on 2024 tyres in the Red Bull, that would have put him reportedly front row of the grid. It's therefore all of a sudden a level playing field in terms of how good his session was then. And as I said, we'll cover that shortly because there's a lot to dissect there too. So, near certainty Max will win the title just by finishing second from every race here on in. So we could get a couple of retirements here. That'd be nice because that'll actually maybe close the championship gap up slightly. But, you know, the nearest challenger is Perez, somewhat fortuitously. Yeah. And he'll probably find a way to shoot himself in the foot. So, you know, yeah, you know,
I'd like to see Max take a whole bunch of engine penalties just to make some interesting, like, races. I mean, I'm sure, like, Red Bull want to go for the winning every round in the championship, but it'll be interesting to see what he could do coming from, like, 20th after a 72-place grid penalty for engine changes and turbo changes and stuff like that. Just to make things interesting.
You know what? Do it at a track where the passing is actually going to be a test. Like, do it at Hungary.
Yeah.
You know, or because they'll probably do that sort of stuff at Monza and Spa, where there's going to be such a DRS advantage for the Red Bull. It'll be, you know, Christian Horner will be like, oh, well, you know, Max is just doing his thing, you know, wonderful, you know, wonderful. Matt, Christian, piss off. Like, seriously, your car's that much better than everyone else. It's even a mockery that you're even going to the races. You may as well just take the rest of the season off. But the whole crux of the race changed because of the fact that these 2024 tyres were not degrading to anywhere near the level that they expected because of the cooler conditions. Yeah. And so then you had, after the safety car part, you know, with passage, you had Ferrari being too conservative, you had McLaren being too conservative, and then all of a sudden you had Lewis that went on the soft because he didn't take a pit stop, catapulted himself up from 6th or 7th up to 3rd. Yeah. And so all of a sudden the race had changed. Now, I only wish, and if McLaren had their time again, I only wish that they put Lando on soft tyres.
But they had the time to bring both of them in and put both of them on softs. Yeah. And they could have done it. And especially with the lighter cars, with no fuel in them, the tyres would have lasted. So, you know, like you said, Ferrari were too conservative. They lost a whole heap of time in FP2 with Charles not making the track and with the technical issue. But otherwise they probably would have been a bit more special as well. But I think that safety car came out at a very, very awkward time for a lot of the teams. Yep. So that definitely helped spice things up, I guess.
Well, yeah, because it started as a virtual safety car. So all that meant was that the harder tyre strategy may have actually worked. Yeah. But then 3/4 of the teams on pit wall, were they not paying attention to George Russell? Because it was plain as black. He started on the soft, you know, and he came in when it came to safety car, he'd put 24 laps on. Yeah. You know, so all of a sudden it's like, well, hold on, there's less than 24 laps left. Russell's got this. Why would you not go on the soft? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. It's like, sometimes you kind of wonder that they're so focused on the laptop and the data that I almost think they don't actually pay attention. And having been fortunate enough to sit in, say, Todd Hazelwood's pit for the Adelaide 500, seeing behind the engineers and watching the telemetry, they don't leave the screen. Yep. You can't even see what's going out on the track, right? So they're so focused on data and fuel rate and fuel flow, right? Yeah, no wonder they're making balls up.
They're still watching lap times for all the other drivers, though, and making analysis on what tyres they're on and all that sort of stuff. But, yeah, I think they get so set in there, this is our 3 or 4 strategies or whatever, that we can't go away from them. So I think, and when the safety car got changed from a full course, a virtual safety car to a proper safety car, I think that messed a few of the teams up because they'd already crossed past the commitment line, the safety car 1 line, so they couldn't pit. And then if they had pitted the next lap around, all the people that were fortunate enough to be able to dive into the pits, they would have been jumped over the top of them. So, yeah, like I said, I think the call to go from virtual safety car to safety car stopped the people like McLaren, like Lando and Oscar trying to come in and make a pit stop, because if they did, they would have lost another 4 or 5 spots.
I was so encouraged to see Piastri have put, I wouldn't say caution to the wind, and actually have a crack at Max. I really wish him on lap 2, when he had that opportunity, just go in there and have a crack.
Yeah.
Right, see what happens. Yeah, if you come off second best, okay, you don't want to, but I think for very mature drive.
Yeah.
Really mature drive. And I think he's, the best part is that all the naysayers at the beginning of the year that were on his back, that were criticising him about Daniel, with the whole, because I was still sensitive about Daniel Ricciardo being turfed out by McLaren. I think now they're eating their words because they are very, very quiet. The kid's good. He's quality.
You've got to remember, when a rookie comes into Formula One, there's probably, in the first half of the season, 5 or 6 tracks that these guys have never driven on before. They've not raced there in Formula 3. They've not raced there in Formula 2. They've definitely not raced there in Formula 1. So to judge their results against someone that's been in the sport for 4 years now, and how far they off at a track how far they are off at a track like Saudi Arabia, how far they are off at a track like Miami, how far they are off at a track like Canada, it's not fair. That they've got no prior knowledge of a circuit, so they've got to learn it. And again, I'm sure we're getting there, but it'll come up again later.
It will. And but having said that, though, he's very clear number 2 because of what happened at Austria, where they gave Lando the upgrade.
He's still a upgrade or 2 behind.
Yeah.
Over the last 2 race meetings, or even just coming to Silverstone, McLaren brought 11 new changes to the car, and that's what made it into a bit of a weapon. It's much more Red Bull-like now, but Norris is still 1 step ahead of Oscar because they ran slightly different front wing concepts through the race as well. So they've still got a whole heap more to come. It'd be great to see them get 2 cars right up to the same level in one big chunk, but they've got more coming at Hungary, and then they've got another huge step coming, they reckon, after Hungary. So they are looking like they could be good.
I'll hang on that judgment until at least after Hungary.
Yeah.
Because Austria has always been a Lando track. Silverstone rewards aerodynamics and downforce.
Yeah.
So Hungary is a little bit of both, where it's tight, twisty. It's almost like Monaco, but there's enough speed in that track to actually have some sort of aerodynamic benefit, whereas Monaco is just all about muscle, brawn and endurance.
Yeah. Orlando said that the car's still pretty terrible in the low-speed section, so there's a lot of them in Hungary as well, so it will show them those struggles out pretty quickly when they get there. So looking forward to next weekend to see if we do actually have a challenger to Max, or whether it's just another flash in the pan.
Yeah, cool. Reckon we should run some highlights?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're ready to go racing at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Lights out, away we go. Max Verstappen getting off the line, but it's a good start by Norris. A very good start. Lando Norris leads. Piastri's trying to take second, but Max Verstappen ran the outside. But it is Lando Norris who leads from Max Verstappen in second place. And Piastri now having to defend from Charles Leclerc as Hamilton goes very, very wide and loses a bunch of places.
Yeah, Hamilton's lost out. Russell's gained 1 place in the Mercedes as well on those softs, but what a start from Norris. Just got the drive. Verstappen's lost the lead. Did well to hold on to second, but Piastri is so close down to Brooklands.
Yeah, Piastri's actually having a little look around the outside, but Verstappen being a little cautious. He knows he's got a rapid car.
I mean, Piastri was just as quick off the line as Norris. He just had nowhere to go as he tries to make it work around the outside. Max isn't going to let that happen there.
He's not got grip, Max. He's struggling on the rear end, was really sideways coming into Brooklands, and Piastri's coming coming again towards Copse Corner.
It's a risky place to try and go down the inside, as we know. Oh, Verstappen going onto the dust. I wondered if he would make a mistake. He held it well.
Both of them launched, but one of them is now launching at a much higher speed, and Norris, dream stuff for the Brit, leading at Silverstone. And Norris has got to be ready for this. 5 laps into a 52, and he's got his mirrors full, and Max is closer this time.
That was a good exit too, wasn't it? Because both of them got a little bit of rear end movement. He didn't get any this time. He's got a really good run with the DRS. He's going to go for it down the inside into Brooklands, and Max Verstappen has taken the lead from Lando Norris. So Lando leading the early stages. He hasn't given up yet, but I think Max now has the pace. As he comes out of the left-hander, he was out of slipstream too, so he still had decent downfalls. He's in a good place now. DRS is open. Really good opportunity to get past Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton dives past, and he has gained a place. He is up to 7th position. Still a lot of work to be done here. He's going chasing after Carlos Sainz. Oh, just a little bit of a lock-up there for, Hulkenberg, and that's Perez going through. So Perez getting past. So he's up to 13th place now.
A little bit of contact there with the front wing for Nico Hulkenberg. It doesn't appear to be damaged as we see Nyck De Vries now. Oh!
Contact with Hulkenberg. So Hulkenberg in a big battle at the moment, isn't he? And he's come in. He's come straight into the pits. This is a chance for George Russell. He's right in the DRS zone. Leclerc's going to go defensive to the inside. It's always a tricky one to go around the outside, but he is putting the attack on, and now he goes around the outside into Luffield. George Russell, beautiful move. He gets past Charles Leclerc. Perfectly done.
What a move. What a move, George. I imagine he's on the radio right now telling the team how great it was, but it was that one was pretty honest as Leclerc tries to fight back now into Stowe. Not going to happen there.
The Haas in trouble there. The Haas, that's Magnussen. Oh, and there's a fire off the back. Kevin Magnussen's car. It stopped yesterday in qualifying, and now it's stopped in the race.
So here's your safety car, and this is pit stop time for the top 3, top 4 even.
Just passes away for him, and that's the end of the day for Kevin Magnussen. It's not a good day for Haas in general.
Soft tires for the Red Bull there. I think, just to use that. I don't know how else you can play this, but no, there's hards going on the McLaren.
Not that many laps to go. We're under full safety car. There's 18 to go. There might be 15 when we get racing. That's a big call there for McLaren. They're not going to warm up very well at the end of the safety car period.
See what Hamilton does.
You soft.
Yeah,
so that's what we thought, a reverse of what Russell did.
It's racy, and I like it. Yeah. I really like that. And Ferrari getting ready now with Sainz as well, who's going to go onto a soft, I think.
Still a poor, not a great stop, 3.2, better than Russell's, but Mercedes are not on it as well.
And he's ahead of Piastri.
Wow.
Hamilton is ahead of Oscar Piastri, so he's leapt up into a net top 3. Hamilton is close to Norris. Perez is close to Sainz, and this is the hard tyres not firing up. Second place is Norris. Here they go, flashing through. Hamilton is right with him, and we're going to have a big braking zone after this corner.
Carry on.
They say the only benefit that Norris has right now is DRS still not enabled. First lap after the safety car, so it's all about getting a good exit right here out of turn 4. But man, Hamilton is close.
He's got so much more grip.
Is there a chance? As you say, DRS not in play yet. Lando Norris going defensive immediately, goes to the inside over the dust that has been put down for any oil that was put down, and he's trying to go around the outside, but Lando breaks late enough. Now, can he do what George Russell did? Go around the outside through Luffield corner. He can't quite do it. Lando Norris holds him off.
With every corner, Norris's chances improve on that hard tyre. It will fire up, and it will find some grip, but still Lewis is here, down towards Copse, so we're going to see a move again.
Into Copse corner. He goes in a wider line. The tighter line for Lando is difficult, but actually he didn't lose much time by doing that. No doubt they will be thinking ahead to the DRS opening up on the next lap. That was a late break from Lewis Hamilton.
He's looking at the inside.
He's got a chance. He's got a chance. Lewis Hamilton alongside Lando Norris. Now they're going to be running side by side through the Kink at Woodcote, and he's still got that inside line. Will he go for it? This is a brave place to try and overtake. We saw it go wrong between Hamilton and Verstappen a couple of years ago. He backs out, follows him through. You're on board with Sergio Perez, very much closer now to Carlos Sainz.
But look how close Sainz is to Alonso as well. Perez is really close. He's going to have a dive here towards Vale.
Down the inside, Sergio Perez has a look to try and get past Carlos. Carlos gives him space, and thankfully they don't touch, but he's now got it on the exit, and he's through.
Nicely done, Checo. And now the Williams of Alex Albon's going to try to capitalize on the Ferrari side by side into Stowe.
Wow, he's done it. Alex Albon gets past Carlos as well. Alex has gone up into 8th place.
Oh, yes, from Alex Albon. Really good commitment at the first corner. Now it's Leclerc around the outside of his teammate, creeps over track limits, but we'll have the inside for turn 4. And And that one far up the inside from Sergio Perez, but Sainz way offline, left him vulnerable. The Red Bull came through, the Williams came through. Now his teammate has come through as well. Sainz way out of line there.
Oh, this is another one he could lose from Pierre Gasly. Gasly goes round the outside, and Pierre Gasly on target for 10th position. Oh, look at that. Did they touch almost?
Sainz coming back up the inside, and Gasly into Cops corner. That's brave, and that's good from Carlos Sainz. You can make it through if you're there on the way in, and he's committed enough. Gasly not defending the inside.
Oh, we've got contact. Gasly. Yeah, is he broken?
He's got a broken rear suspension, I think. Stroll's come from off the track there and launched into the next corner. There was space to stay on the track, so that's Stroll for me. So I think Lance will get a pen for that. Second and third in the championship, these two as well.
Perez trying to pick up that slipstream. Here we go. Sergio Perez down the inside, makes the move up into 6th place, gets past Fernando Alonso. He had the straight line speed he needed. Max Verstappen comes out of the final corner. Max wins the British Grand Prix. It's the first time he's won it as the British Grand Prix, the second time he's won here at Silverstone. Lando Norris finishes in a brilliant second. Lewis Hamilton in third. Two British drivers will be celebrating on the podium. Piastri finishes in fourth, his best finish in Formula One. 5th place for Russell. Perez 6th. Alonso holds on to 7th ahead of Alex Albon, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz.
What I made, that's our first win here since 2012, and it matches a record of McLaren of 11 wins in a row. So, mega day for the team. Well done.
Yeah, great job. 11 in a row. That's pretty crazy. Well done.
It has worked perfectly for the Red Bull team. 22nd win from pole position at Silverstone, just like Carlos Sainz did last year. This time, it was Max Verstappen's example.
And there you have it. Highlights of the British Grand Prix. Looked promising for the first maybe 3, 4, 5 laps, and then looked promising again after the safety car period, but, rinse and repeat.
It was just good to see another car lead the race for a little while as well.
Oh, and the crowd noise too from, when the Brits got behind Lando when he came out.
I'd like to know if that is actually the crowd. It sounds very...
They had 400,000 over the whole weekend. It was a pretty big crowd.
Yeah, but it just sounds so like a crowd track, backing track. I'm gonna have to go back because there was more. There's been other races where that the crowd noises come into play. I'm gonna have to go back because it almost sounds like it's the exact same noise played every single time.
You know what it is? Speaking of which, I know Supercars do that for their broadcasts when the car crosses the finish line. They've got a crowd background on that because you can tell by the whistle and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, the crowd numbers versus the sound over those cars, because they are louder than the previous spec of car. I've picked up, it's probably been about 12 months now, where it's the same whistle at the same time.
Yeah,
man, that's a good whistle.
It just goes back to Sky Sports using the old Abu Dhabi track on one of their coverages last year or the year before or whenever it was. Like, gosh, come on, guys, seriously.
Your lip quivered when you talked about that. That was funny. It was like,
dude, I was like sitting there and I had to actually. That's one of the first times I've actually rewound a live broadcast on the TV, because I was gobsmacked when I saw that opening. I was like, did they just have an old photo on there? Anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of old, it was good to see the old teams actually have a bit of a fight back, like Williams. I mean, they've clearly made some gains in the aero department, and Albon, somewhat fortuitously with the safety car and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of pace, especially in the early parts of the weekend, it was genuine. It wasn't a fluke.
And they've showed specs of pace pretty well all year. So, well, not all year, but like the last, I think Albon scored points in 3 of the last 4 races, maybe, or 2 of the last 3 races or something. So they've definitely found an upturn in form, but only with one car.
Yep. I will go as far as saying I think Red Bull's dominance now is actually more dominant than Mercedes. This reminds me of peak Schumacher era with Ferrari. That 03-04 season where they went on something like 15 victories, 8 consecutive 1-2 finishes. Just extraordinary.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely smoking them. They would be able to have more 1-2 finishes too if they didn't have someone else alongside Max instead of who they've got. So, they're very, very dominant. The car's so fast. It makes you wonder how, like, did Max just sit there for the first few laps? Could he have passed Lando at any time he wanted, or was he just trying to figure some stuff out? Like, how does the car run in traffic like that? Because if they do get a challenger in front of them, then they need to work on that for next season or whatever. There's a few questions there as well.
After Hungary, I'd probably answer that question better, but my guess is with McLaren was Lando. Well, Max, in terms of his starts, has been average at best. I'd say putrid, but that's probably being a bit harsh.
That's probably a bit harsh.
But he's been average. So, but the McLaren has also got the ability at the moment to turn on the tyres quicker.
A lot quicker. Yeah.
So, and I also think to some degree that there was a little bit of conservatism on Max's part in the early stages because of the tyre wear issue.
Yeah.
And once he got into his groove and Lando's now started to fade back, once he got into all he had to do was get into the DRS zone and the car would take care of itself.
Yeah, it still took him even a couple of dips in DRS to get past Lando, but I guess as well he worked out where Lando was deploying the battery, so he lined up a different fight. But it was good to see that Max actually had to pass a different car for the lead.
Yeah, but the other thing to note too is that all of the Mercedes engine cars were harvesting so early for that race. Must have been a setup that they had or a spec that they've had in that engine.
Yeah.
But
it's just so hard to harvest there as well because you can't. There's not really many slow corners for heavy braking. So it's very hard to harvest at Silverstone.
Domenicali came out during the week and actually said that they are strongly considering running hydrogen fuel and going back to naturally aspirated engines. Which
Amazing. They want louder cars. So that'll be great.
Well, when you've got a 1992 Williams FW14B driven by Jenson Button that not only gets the plaudits from how good it sounded, but then also how loud it was, and it's a demonstration car.
And the McLaren that Sebastian Vettel drove. And I actually had a friend over there who was driving a Benetton V10 in the demonstration runs as well.
I saw that.
So it just puts everyone on notice. And even when I went to the Grand Prix in 2016, you could hear Formula 2 and Formula 3 from the walk into the track, and then when Formula 1 was on track, it didn't sound like anything. So that's not what it should be about.
No, exactly. I agree. So if they do go down that path, absolutely, I can't encourage that soon enough.
Yeah, 100%.
As long as they don't go through the blown diffuser V8 era where it sounds like your old car on the down change. Yeah, exactly. You wet farts. So it's which is your V-dub. Can I just say, I washed my car today, just off topic. I still maintain that the VTEC engine was still one of the greatest automotive engineering pieces of work in the last 30 years.
I don't know if you know whether you're Italian or Japanese sometimes.
I study Japanese. I can speak the language, but I'm at one with their culture. I am cultured. So
you could have washed my car while you were at it too, by the way.
I did actually think whether you'd washed it.
I was actually saying to Shay yesterday that I thought about washing my car and then it started raining and I was like, it's going to be nice weather all this week, so maybe I'll wash the car.
That's why I actually parked further away from the tree because I didn't want sap on it at the end of it.
Fair.
But metallic white's where it's at. Pearlescent as well. Alpine, poor race. That's a shocker, and they've had a shocking run of late as well, especially on their home track, if you want to call it that. Yeah, but also Aston Martin have fallen off the perch a little bit too. Fernando's not worried, but I don't know whether it's a circuit specific thing, but Hungary's critical because he's going to finish at best second.
Yep,
he ain't going to win the title.
No, 100%. But again, Aston Martin could use that money, so they need Lance to start performing as well and scoring points at every race like Alonso is doing, rather than just here and there. But even at Austria, Fernando wasn't fast, so fingers crossed when they get to some more slower tracks, the short wheelbase on the Aston Martin should be good around Hungary, and they're still targeting Singapore as the race where they might be able to sneak a win away from Red Bull.
Sure. Do we need to go to a break?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, let's do it, because then we need to cover Daniel Ricciardo and Nyck De Vries. Now, the elephant in the room. you decided to get on your perch. You had your little monologue about Mr. Nyck De Vries, your love child, the guy that you and Biscuits put on a pedestal as your top 10 driver of last year over one Grand Prix. And I thought, dear, oh dear. Innocence, naivety, the both of them. Okay, all right. Got the drive at Alpha Tower. I thought, okay, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So, we know the outcome now. All right. Now, hear me out, because I know that you want to rebut. You're just going to have to sit there and let me finish. You understand?
All right, Shay, settle down.
Okay. I've been hanging around your wife too long, clearly. There's two sides to it. First thing is the human element, and I always liken sales to motorsport in many aspects of it. And you're probably not getting where I'm coming from, but I always found that if I articulated what happens in the process of selling and all that sort of stuff, that there's a lot of symmetry that happens on a race circuit. I've also been down the path where I've started a job, and it's gone back a little while, and within the probation period, it wasn't working, and they send you out the door. So from a mental health aspect, right, and from a kick in the guts aspect, I hope he's okay. From a humanitarian point of view, because that's his dream. That was his dream, to make it to the top, okay, and to be ousted the way that he was, right, in anyone's language, right, it's not cool. I don't condone that at all, right, and I hope that he's okay. However, let's talk about Hendrik Johannes Nyck De Vries, all right? Because I pretty much said in the JP podcast that he was S and T and had a hit in the middle. So you piece those together, and I said it multiple times, and this backs it up, all right? So his CV prior to F1. Two-time karting world champion, plus German junior and WSK titles. Okay, that's cool. That's all right. But like you've touched on many times, being, in terms of how the importance of a karting championship doesn't mean squat. I'll tell you why. Because these are the only Formula One drivers in the senior ranks that have actually won karting world championships and have made the grade. Okay? And when you look at it, it doesn't bode great for champions. All right? So let's go. We'll start with Riccardo Patrese, Gabriele Tarquini, Jan Magnussen, Jarno Trulli, Vitantonio Liuzzi, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris. That's it. In the history of... Well, outside of Nyck De Vries.
Logan Sargent.
Logan Sargent was junior.
That counts as a world champion.
In a junior.
World champion.
In a junior.
He's a go-karting world champion.
You can be a junior Leigh, right, and do sweet FA in the senior ranks, and it means nothing, right? But Fernando Alonso won a world championship in the junior ranks too. So, because you can be a good kid, but if you can't put together in senior, then what chance have you got of doing it in Formula One? We've seen that too many times. So, 2012 to 2015, race Formula Renault. Okay, cool. 2016 GP3 Series. 2017 to 2019, Formula 2. Now, he won a title in Formula Renault because he won that in 2014. Mm-hmm. And then in 2019, he won the championship in Formula 2. But he was in Formula 2 for, if you count 2017, 3 years. In that time, he was soundly beaten in 2017 by Alex Albon, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, and then Mick Schumacher and George Russell in between those periods. So then when he did win the championship in 2019, it was considered by many pundits, I'm not saying I'm saying it, many pundits, it was considered the weakest field in a decade because the runner-up was Nikita Mazepin, and we know how that went up, okay? So from a credibility standpoint in the masses of pit lane, and it's not me that's saying it too, we've got ESP in here to back it up, there's not a lot of credibility in that, okay? So, all right. He's then gone to Formula E, and he's won a title there in 2020, I think it was, which was, in many respects, considered to be a no man's land, quote unquote, and a series for F1 drivers that couldn't make the grade, right? Now, a title is a title. You can't diminish that. And clearly the kid's got some capability. Do you call him a kid? He's 27 years old. The guy's got a capability. Then he's gone and raced in sports cars, and he's had a stint in one of the LMP2 cars, I think, for a while there as well. However... Fleetingly. He was in the McLaren Young Driver program from 2010 to 2019. You know who else was in the McLaren Young Driver program? Lewis Hamilton. How did that turn out? Audi Racing Academy in 2016 to 2019, right? So he's getting these opportunities, right, Test driver for
winning
Mercedes.
races in every opportunity that has been given, correct? Yep.
Test driver for Mercedes, test driver for Alpine, test driver for McLaren, test driver for Aston Martin, one race win in Monza in the Williams, which was his qualifying position was promoted by 4 spots because of penalties for others. It's not a technically difficult track. The Williams was proven to be one of the fastest cars in a straight line, and there's only 2 hard braking zones where there's actually got to be some sort of technical aptitude. The hardest thing he had to do all weekend was start the car. Right. So how many chances though? So I look at it this way. He's then gone into AlphaTauri and he's won the seat against Horner's wishes. So Helmut Marko's gone out on a limb. He's gone out and signed Nyck De Vries. My question is, why didn't Williams offer him a contract on the spot? Because they hadn't even organised Logan Sargent yet. That wasn't until the end of the year.
But they were already in talks with Logan Sargent, and American money's paying big money.
No, but you've got talent there. Logan Sargent is coming up.
What did I say earlier about Perez? Where is he because of what he's got?
Yeah, but what money has Logan brought into the team?
And how did Mazepin get into the sport?
Well, that's the credibility piece.
How is Lance Stroll in the sport?
Well, Lance Stroll is an abnormality. It's money. I get that. But Mazepin is an abnormality, right? Nyck De Vries only beat him. He didn't beat anyone else. Sporadically, he did. He got pantsed by all the guys that have made the grade before him. But these F1 teams have seen him in the system, right? AlphaTauri gets the drive. Cool. Fantastic. But he's on average 0.3 to 0.7 seconds slower than Yuki Tsunoda.
Yep.
He's been warned multiple times by Helmut Marko, right? They pretty much said, round 4, you have until Zandvoort to prove yourself. They gave him until his home race. That's a nice surprise. They've then fast-tracked it. Right. And so Horner's already spinning the wheel because he didn't want him in there at all. Mm-hmm. He's now noticed that Daniel Ricciardo's gone into the sim. He's poked the bear, right? Daniel Ricciardo knows how to drive. Daniel Ricciardo didn't develop bad driving habits in the sim from his time at McLaren, right? He just didn't sync with McLaren, right? He's too good a driver and he's got too much class, like we've talked about in the last 2.5 years on the show, to not develop bad habits, right? Horner poked the bear, right? Because he wanted Ricciardo to lift, right? With the idea of putting pressure on for drivers because Perez started to choke like I just did then.
Yep.
Right. So basically what's happened is that as far as I'm concerned, to be dropped 11 races in is unheard of. And Helmut Marko did it within an hour. So Ricciardo's gone out. He's done his first laps. Horner's gone on the phone to Helmut Marko, giving him an update. Within the hour, DeVries has dropped. Bang, like that. Now, if a driver was worth his salt, if he was proving to be the capability, irrespective of the rookie year, and everything you say about the rookie year is completely valid, I don't disagree. The kid's got to be given a chance. I get that, right? But clearly in Red Bull land anyway, he wasn't up to scratch. Right, clearly outmuscled. 0.3 to 0.7 seconds a lap on average off Tsunoda. Not even close to getting to him, right? And then from his starting position in the race, he'd finished backwards 3 positions from when he started. So all of a sudden you're looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, he's outpaced, he's been outraced, he's about 0.3 off on average off Tsunoda. Mm-hmm. And in every race this year, he's finished 3 places lower in his qualifying position. And yet this guy has been in the system for such a long time, sometimes unlucky because the drives have been hard to get with some of the teams. I give you that, right? But he clearly hasn't gone to a point where if your boss has come up to you and Cody said, Leigh, mate, you're early in the piece, right? Leigh, your results haven't been up to scratch. I need to see a lift. I need to see you do X, Y, Z, A, B, C by this amount of time. Mm-hmm. And you didn't lift, and then the warning comes again, and you didn't lift, and then the warning comes again, and then you're on your ass.
Yep.
Right. For me, it just goes now. But what it's done, maybe Red Bull wasn't the right environment for him. Maybe he needed to go to a different team, but the opportunity wasn't there, which baffles me as to why Williams would offer him a contract and say, here, take it.
No, I don't think it's that Red Bull wasn't the right environment. I just think it shows how harsh the Red Bull environment is. The thing for me,
it's killed his career. Well, I can't see him coming back.
He's not coming back into Formula One, but unless it's going to be sporadically as a reserve and test driver. But like all the things that you said, is all because of, like I said to you before, he has not had a chance to drive on most of these tracks. Of the 10 races that we've had, because we missed Imola, he has raced on 4 of those tracks before. If you go back and look at all of the results from the 4 tracks that he's driven on before in a race car of any other discipline, he has matched, if not gone better than Yuki Tsunoda. Let's just take the last 2 Grand Prix out of the last however many, which happened to be on tracks that he knows. He beat Tsunoda in Austria, and he finished on the back end of Tsunoda at Great Britain. Tracks that he is very familiar with, he has actually been the same pace as or faster than Yuki Tsunoda. If it's because Yuki Tsunoda has scored 2 more points after being in the Red Bull AlphaTauri car and for 3 years...
Should have been more.
But it's not.
I know,
so he's
but it should have been more.
But they would have been looking to be in the top 10 most of the races this year. So arguably, Yuki Tsunoda has not performed to expectations as well. He should be on 15, 20, 40 points, but he's not. So why didn't they get rid of Yuki? Why didn't they get Nick more chance to bring himself back up to speed? Why is Logan Sargent still driving? He's further behind than Nyck De Vries. So all of this baloney that you've got about Nyck De Vries not being good enough is not the case. It just shows how ruthless the Red Bull fraternity is.
Mate, I disagree with you, because Logan Sargent's had less racing experience than Nyck De Vries. Nyck De Vries has been in the system longer than what you and I have been alive together. You're still 0.3 seconds slower than Tsunoda. You still finished behind him. It doesn't matter whether you're on his backside or whether he's 3 or 4 car lengths in front. Still finished behind.
On tracks that Yuki Tsunoda has been driving for the last 4 years, day in, day out, in a car that he's been driving day in, day out for the last 4 years.
Mate, it's more than it's more than just the results. Yeah, it's a results-driven business, but then you're chopping someone 4 races in, more because 4 races in, you're already saying, mate, you're in deep poo, right? It's attitude, it's application, it's his ability to debrief with his engineers, it's whether he's ruffled feathers within the team. There's articles saying that he wasn't really liked in AlphaTauri.
Yeah, probably because he was challenging them to be better because they gave him a rubbish car this year.
Yeah, but you're a rookie. How can you challenge the established?
He's driven for Mercedes, he's driven for Williams, he's got and Aston Martin. He's got 3 separate cars from 3 different manufacturers to compare to the baloney that they gave him to drive. Yeah. If he's challenging them to push them better and telling them that some of the philosophies that they're going down in that Faenza factory are no good, maybe they should turn around and listen. Maybe they might not be battling for 15th and 16th place. Maybe they're battling for 9th and 10th.
And that's why, with all that experience that you've just mentioned, he has severely underperformed. Now, the car is average, and that's really where this comes into it. What my other piece was going to be is as follows. So to Red Bull to make a drastic call tells me a few things. DeVries was on the outer, as was covered as well by Silverstone. Horner reportedly had a meeting with Ricciardo at Silverstone and said, right, you're in the car next race, whether you like it or not. Ricciardo's actually turned around and said, no, I want to start next year and get a full preseason under me. Horner's like, you do well in Pirelli, in the Pirelli test, you've got the drive, right? Because, and what you touched on in your audio before about, what's his name? Who's the rookie that they've got in the system now?
Liam Lawson.
Yeah, Lawson. There's no point offering Liam Lawson the gig. You may as well stick with DeVries. You're actually going to go backwards to Lawson, no offence to him, because DeVries has already been in the car. You may as well persist with him. They didn't do that. To chop him like that. To answer your question about Yuki Tsunoda, it's very simple. It's 2 things. We've either really underestimated Yuki Tsunoda's driving ability, and I don't really think that's the case. He was on the outer of Red Bull in his first year. They nearly gave him the chop and head. They gave him the time to lift.
Yeah. So why didn't they give Nyck De Vries the same time?
Because Yuki Tsunoda brings Honda money.
Yep, exactly right.
That's the reason why.
Exactly right.
It's now, having said that, right.
So you've basically just confirmed my point that the only reason that Nyck De Vries has been sacked is because he doesn't bring the money.
Why not sack Sergio Perez?
Exactly right. Because he brings the Mexican money.
They've got the money.
But this
Red
is
Bull
also,
have got the budget.
Like we've said, this is also a kick in the pants to all of those drivers, because if Daniel Ricciardo now performs good, he will be, Perez's contract for next year will be torn out.
Yep.
they will give Liam Lawson the call up to drive for AlphaTauri, because then they can give him another 7 months, 8 months in preparation before a March kickoff for next year. So yeah, like we said, it's Red Bull is ruthless. It's cutthroat. Red Bull. Why would you? And it's the reason that Jack Doohan got out of the Red Bull Driver Academy, because it is very, very ruthless. And this is just showing how ruthless it is. I'm not saying that, you know, he got sacked. He got sacked. It is what it is. But it's not because he doesn't have any talent. It's because Red Bull is ruthless, and because they want to give everybody a kick in the pants.
There's no disputing that Nyck De Vries has got talent. You don't get to the levels of motorsport that you do without the talent, right? I've been watching Formula One for a very, very long time. I've seen far worse than Nyck De Vries last, right? But he's clearly not made the most of his opportunity either, and he's got to take some element of responsibility for that. What it does also mean, though, is that for Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda, and Sergio Perez, this second half of the season could make or break all three of their careers.
100%.
You know, because now, and really, four careers gone, potentially, right? Or one saved in one team in the space of the next 6 months.
Yep.
It's unheard of. It's ridiculous.
It's going to be fun.
You know, I haven't seen anything more ruthless than that from Red Bull than I'll go as far back as saying Michael Andretti with McLaren back in 1993. They gave him about a half a dozen races. They gave him the chop, and all of a sudden Mika Hakkinen comes in, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Right. Out-qualified centre in his first race.
Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon. Second swedge.
Second swedge out of the night.
But yeah, no, look, it's a ruthless sport.
Right. We friends again?
I don't know. Were we ever friends to start with?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you.